All right, guys, what is going on? We've got some interesting news with ice. What's going on in Minnesota? There's always something now. It's been a wild start to 2026 for Minnesota. Greenland is in reach. Yeah, we'll see. Denmark issues a major warning, saying they're going to shoot first and ask questions later. If U.S. troops invade Greenland, I don't think we're going to invade Greenland. I think there's going to be a negotiation. There's might be a coerced negotiation, if I had to say. Happy New Year, man. Beamer Club, Happy New Year. What do you honestly think, justified or not? It's one of those gray area. It's like interpretation, and it's dependent on what the ICE agent thought at the time. Obviously, with a situation like this, it's a lawful order. The woman, I don't know what was going on. She was blocking the road or something and doing what those protesters do, getting in the way. So they tell her to get out of her car. And she hits the pedal. And the thing is she did turn her wheel. You could see the wheels turning away from the ICE agent, but the ICE agent slightly got hit. They'll argue, well, she was already by, so it wasn't when the agent shot. The one agent shot. The agents were out of harm's way by the time he shot. But if you get a lawful order to get out of the car and you step on the gas pedal, that seems like a self-defense case that you can win. But it's one of those gray area ones, so people are going crazy. But do you think the U.S. will dare attack you, or do you think Europe will dare attack U.S. bases in Europe over Greenland? I don't think they will. No attack. I don't think they would. I think the thing that they would do is they might. I don't even know, like dump treasuries or something to try and hurt our economy. But I don't think, like, why would you destroy your relationship with the U.S. over this? It just doesn't seem realistic. I mean, it'd be one thing if the United States wanted to take like Iceland or Ireland or something. I don't. I think they're all for. It's all for show. It's all bluster. It's just bluffing. U.S. obesity rates. I do think that people should be put on Ozempic. I think it's good. It helps the healthcare situation. You know how much healthcare people are on healthcare because of obesity. People should have to go on. I don't know if it's Ozempic, but these drugs, they're refining them and they're getting better. And there are problems with Ozempic, but there's got to be something that's done if this is a modern answer. Custard, I appreciate that. Why is it so hard for people to obey orders from law enforcement? It's not that complicated. If you have a grievance, you can hire a lawyer later and go to court. Well, it's because they're in the heat of the moment. I mean, that's a woman. She leaves. She has, I think, a child, and from what I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but it's like she's a career protester. She's a hired protester from Missouri. I'm not sure if that's true. But with these people, it's unnecessary. What are you doing with your life? You're protesting democracy. Democracy demanded mass deportations. That's what was voted on. So they're mass deporting or they're trying to mass deport the illegal immigrants. ICE has to go in and remove people because they won't leave. So what are you protesting? You're only putting yourself and the ICE agents in danger. That's really should be the main takeaway here. It won't be. They'll be like, well, they're fascist for doing that or whatever. Well, I mean, it's kind of like an FAFO in a way. Like, you're putting yourself in harm's way. You're blocking the agents from doing their jobs. They're just trying to do their jobs. They're trying to remove people. It's not like Trump said, oh, we're going to have a wide open border, guys, don't worry, and then went on this crazy deportation operation. He said we're going to have a mass deportation operation. We're trying to have a mass deportation operation. This is what was voted for. I don't know what these people don't get. What do you think the odds are we acquire Greenland? I think they're going up, honestly. I think it'll be a negotiation. There'll be a lot of money involved. There's not going to be any type of invasion or anything like that. but it might be a coerced negotiation if I had to guess, where it was like an ultimatum is given. For Denmark, it makes sense for them to give. I mean, what is the geopolitical advantage they really have? They can't utilize Greenland in any major way. They don't have the economy for it. That's what I was thinking about. How can Denmark turn down $1 trillion? I don't think they're going to get $1 trillion for it. But I mean, what's the Denmark's GDP? It's like they're subsidizing Greenland to try and keep them afloat. They're losing money on Greenland every year. It makes more sense for the U.S. to take ownership of it. It makes sense all around, and it increases the sphere of influence for the U.S. as well. Can Waltz use the National Guard against ICE? I think that's sedition. I think Walls he's barking up the wrong tree. He's going to get himself arrested. You know, everyone says nothing ever happens. I think they might try and arrest him or something. I don't know. But it's like he wants to get arrested, Walls, by saying that, saying he's going to use Minnesota federal agents against ICE and against. It's like you're just inviting the Insurrection Act, and I don't know if Trump's going to use it. I was seeing people were saying, well, he's going to use it, but he's waiting for the right time. I don't know. They're like, ICE, get the fuck out of our city. This is what was voted for. What are you talking about? You don't get to determine that. ICE is a federal entity. They go where they're called to remove people. There was a federal election that voted for this. What are you talking about? Thoughts on the Iranian regime possibly falling? Yeah, I have heard about that. I've heard it's going to kick up again, but that's going to be a whole big thing, trust me, because of the Trump support for Israel. I don't know what the involvement is going to be, but that's probably going to be a whole saga if that happens, because you see some of these Israeli diplomats start bragging about some type of operation or something that's going to be happening to Iran, and you just know the U.S. is going to be involved. And these Middle Eastern events are normally not positive. It's just appeasement to Israel. Do you think it's a wise financial decision if Trump annexes? Should people move there? No, it's a very remote. It's unlivable. Much of it is unlivable. You wouldn't want to move there. Not unless they had established cities. I mean, it'd be a different climate. It'd be an abstract climate, a lot of it. But a lot of it stays below zero for pretty much all of the year because it's a glacier on the interior. And there's mountains surrounding it. I was looking at the topography of it. There's mountains like surrounding the glacier sheet on the interior, and then on the far outside, the coastlines, that's where the cities are within Greenland. I don't think Trump would rename Greenland. Basically, Greenland would stay the same name, and it would be just considered a U.S. territory. That's how I feel about it. Do a video about NFL QB quality. That's not really my expertise anymore. Uvalde officer case thoughts. Well, that was a horrible, horrible, horrible. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos from that. I don't know what you're talking about exactly in terms of if they're charging for the. Are you talking about the school shooting with Salvador Ramos? Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, they should have, and that's a direct order that's given in terms of when there's a school shooting, you have to rush the shooter. And what they did with Uvalde and all the body cams coming out was just completely a 180 of what you're supposed to do. You think if Trump annexes Greenland, the rest of the world would recognize it? Well, they'd have to recognize it, especially if it's done in a deal. There's really, it's irrelevant if they want to recognize it. If Denmark agrees to give it up, you have to recognize it. The country has agreed to give it up. If Trump bought out Greenland, should he nationalize and make all Greenland residents full U.S. citizens? Would this be a problem for voting? No, it wouldn't be a problem. No, they would not have voting rights. There's not enough people there. There's 57,000 people. There's not enough to do anything. They become a territory. They become another territory. The voting is irrelevant. Their effect on national elections is nothing. So even if we acquired a territory with a bigger population, their population is so small. You could acquire a territory with 10 times the population that Greenland has, and they wouldn't have voting rights in a national sense. There's not going to be any issue. That's the reason I would say to take it, and that's why I'm against Canada, because you have all this other stuff you have to deal with in terms of possibly the citizens being granted the voting rights and them being liberal. Greenland's not going to have any voting rights. They don't have any. There's nobody that lives there. If it's under 60,000 people, it's not an issue. Denmark is too small, tiny nation country to do anything to fight back against the U.S. Yeah, I know. Well, it's just posture. Denmark is relying on the EU. They can't rely on NATO. It's funny that what are they going to go to NATO? The U.S. is NATO. They're going to have to go to the EU. So now there's all these EU countries. France has been one. They say we're going to fight for Greenland. What does that even mean? You're going to fight against the United States, your number one biggest ally in this massive military alliance? That makes no sense. These countries are doing this bluster, this show, because they sense Trump has this imperialistic nature now. And I don't know what they're scared. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. There's no way you think Trump's going to invade like Ireland or something. Like, what are we talking about? Greenland is located within the North American tectonic plate. It's right next to us. It makes more sense from a modern approach for the U.S. to have it instead of Denmark, from an economic approach, from a Western approach for the U.S. to control it based on the assets that we have. But listen, I'll be honest, we could do a deal with, I mean, we already have bases there, but we could do a deal with Greenland and have like full control. But it's more of a symbolic thing for Trump. He wants to add it as a historic land addition, just like the Louisiana Purchase, the purchase of Alaska. He loves that stuff. So that's the thing that people are missing. And I try and explain it on Twitter to him. I'm like, they're like, well, you could have all these bases. Yeah, it's really not about that. Trump wants it. I mean, he wants it Greenland, USA. That's what he wants. He doesn't want Greenland where they're independent, but U.S. has bases and everything like that. We already have that relationship. He wants the country, what do you want to call it, annexed or transfer power to the United States. That's what he wants. Did you see the guy in the EU say they're going to kick out the U.S. bases if we take Greenland? What a joke. Yeah, I saw that on X. I tweeted about it. Yeah, that's a complete joke. That's a lie. They're not going to destroy their relationship with the United States over a glacier. Russia would exploit the opening, and right now EU seem more likely to fracture into internal conflict than unite if NATO collapsed. Really, I feel like the EU is uniting as is NATO and some of the other, like it's really the United States and the EU. To me, that's how I view it. But I feel like the EU is uniting around the Ukraine situation in support of Ukraine because they're all in that together. The United States has a completely different view on Russia, Ukraine, based on the geographical locations of the countries. It feels like the EU is more together because of Russia, Ukraine, if I had to say. So even if there was splintering within NATO, I think the EU would remain the same because even this is like all these EU countries are coming together and telling the US, no, you're not going to take Greenland. They view it as like a EU territory because it's a proxy. It's technically an EU proxy, I guess, or maybe it is a part of the EU. But it's like, I guess if it's a part of Denmark, it's a part of the EU. Greenland. They don't have a military. Greenland doesn't. They can't do anything. Do you think Congress will stop Trump's annexation plans? I would just bypass Congress, honestly. It's just like, if you have executive authority, I don't really. Congress to me is really not relevant, honestly, in a lot of this stuff. You can just bypass it, just like with the strikes. Just bypass it. They'll start whining and crying. You tell Congress anything, half of those people are like liberal, 40-year-old women. They're just, it doesn't make sense to run it by Congress. I mean, but I don't even think it would be an annexation. It would be a transfer of power. It would be a sale. Put a bunch of immigrants on Greenland. They don't have the infrastructure for immigrants. They don't have the infrastructure to handle that. The immigrants need to be sent back to where they came from. Then I guess send them to Greenland, or they get sent to Greenland, and people say, well, they should. Nah, I wouldn't say that, but we are going to probably open up some rare earth mineral mines, and they've got a lot of deposits there. You think Dems want a civil war? I mean, I don't think anyone really wants a civil war, but they just hate Trump. Did you hear that we seized the Russian tanker today that tried skirting Venezuelan sanctions? No, I didn't hear about that. Do you think the Supreme Court will shoot down Trump's tariffs? Yeah, so I think there's like an 80% chance, at least if you look at Polymarket. I mean, I don't know the exact what's being said about who's voting where in the Supreme Court on the tariffs, but that's going to be there's going to be workarounds to that. So I think it would probably be a bad look for Trump because it's a Republican Supreme Court, but I don't think that it would really hinder the tariffs. People say we have to give the money back. I think it can still be done. A lot of those tariffs have already been brought down or they've been implemented, and I don't think I think it's more of a symbolic ruling that says, well, yeah, it was executive overreach by Trump, but the tariffs, a lot of them have already been scaled down to the point to where they would probably still be able to be implemented through Congress. Can't the EU atomic bomb the U.S. if they invade Greenland? They're not going to do anything like that. It is they get blown to smithereens. It would destroy the entire West over a glacier. It's not going to happen. I mean, yeah, if the U.S. invaded the UK or Germany, I mean, yeah, there'd be big issues. Greenland, come on. We all need to remember that the European Union is currently spurging out because a Chinese puppet president was toppled less time than an episode of Fallout TV show makes you think. Yeah, Maduro. Well, you know what? I heard about that, and they said they completely just shut their radar down. The United States did. That's how they were able to get to him. It really makes no sense. What kind of military or what kind of security do you have if you're Venezuela to where you could allow something like that, your president, to be taken with zero casualties? I mean, that's unheard of. They shut down their entire Venezuela's entire grid, their entire radar system. They destroyed it or something. I mean, and then that's really what had to have happened. I mean, and then they're talking about there being some type of leak on the inside, where there was somebody within some type of espionage within Venezuela getting out to U.S. intelligence, and I mean, we'll see. We'll see what comes of that. The agent who shot the white female in Minnesota was video recording on his own personal cell phone. Freedom of Information Act request. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in that situation. You know, he'll be charged or what. Those type of things, they can move pretty quickly when it involves law enforcement. I mean, obviously it's a self-defense, and for him it's a very easy defense. The car is, they gave a lawful order, she didn't comply, and she was acting aggressively and drove extremely quickly, and he thought he was going to get hit. The argument against that would be by the time he shot, he was already past danger. So that's an interesting legal argument, but would you mind if the U.S. fully took over Venezuela? Well, I don't think taking over any country in South America is necessary. I don't think that's necessary. To me, Venezuela's population, it becomes a bit more unmanageable. It's a completely different scenario than Greenland. I would not want. I mean, you could say because of the resources of oil, but I already think the U.S. is going to have a significant impact influence on the oil situation in terms of the contracts that we get. And you're opening yourself up to a lot more if you took Venezuela, like in a sense of a territory. I wouldn't want that. People want a lot of these Latin American countries. They're a lot more trouble than they're worth. I mean, you could have an influence in them because it's the Western Hemisphere, but I wouldn't want it. The only reason you want Greenland is because the population is nothing. So you can take it and there's just very little blowback. There's very little issues with owning it. It's just basically a glacier sheet that enables the US to utilize the Arctic in a much more easier way. A lot of Greenland is located within the Arctic Circle. You know, they talk about the Arctic and how important it's getting. First shot is justified, second shots are not. Also, aiming for the head, not justified. Yeah, but I don't know if you can prove that if you're shooting through a window that that's actually where they're aiming. He could just say he was blindly shooting to try and nullify the threat. So I don't, but it becomes legal arguments like that. What do you think about the Russian tanker situation? Well, Russia gets oil from Venezuela. They're probably not happy. I don't know. I didn't see the situation. Somebody just said they U.S. seized a Russian tanker trying to skirt around the sanctions. So I don't know. I mean, it does. It seems like it's not going to be a big deal. But Tucker Carlson, anti-Trump, anti-MAGA. Now Tucker's kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He does a lot of doublespeak. Tucker. So there's a lot of the Trump needs to stop with the aggression and the support of Israel, but then he also says he loves Trump. You wanted to ask if Denmark would actually shoot U.S. troops, or that would be suicidal. It would be suicidal, but I don't think there'll be any troops involved. My guess is if it's negotiated, if there's a deal for the U.S. to acquire it, it's going to be done diplomatically. What about Candace Owens? Well, Candace Owens is I don't know. I saw her show was going down in terms of the charts. I haven't really paid attention to what Candace Owens is doing. She's probably on a break. How was your Christmas and New Year? Pretty standard, pretty normal. Pretty warm Christmas, colder New Year. Now it's warmer again. But it was like really cold in early December, and then it just warmed up right around Christmas. I knew it's because I saw this long-term forecast on X, and I was like, wow, it's going to be insanely warm on Christmas. Thoughts on people on Twitter saying we invaded Venezuela due to them not having Jewish banks? Well, yeah, you hear that one, but you also hear the other one. It's more so Maduro was extremely pro Palestine. Like when he was going to vote for the recent elections, he said free Palestine. So he was very anti-Israel in that fast. So they're gonna obviously say, well, Trump is doing this as appeasement. It's completely different. It's a sphere of influence problem. It's not based around Israel. I mean, obviously you can say that, but it just comes down to, well, I mean, the Venezuela has been a problem for many years. Chavez, Maduro, but the thing is with Trump is he does things. You try and war game out the situation in Venezuela even 2 or 3 weeks ago, or even a week ago, and you say, well, it's probably going to be many months, and they might try and induce some type of civil war because of poor economic conditions, because of these sanctions and the blockade. And Trump says, fuck it, we're just going to speed up the timeline by like 6 months. And now it's the transitional period. So Trump just tends to just do things. But he also, I mean, people have criticized him for some inaction on certain things, but that's why people think Greenland is going to happen. I don't really have any updates. I mean, it's in progress, I guess. It's in progress. Remember when everyone was worried Trump was announcing war last month? That's because Tucker Carlson said it. Tucker Carlson said Trump's going to come out and announce a war with Venezuela. But I will say the thing with Venezuela is you don't want it to drag on, and it's the situation is in flux. It's in flux. So you want to have some type of election. You want to do it democratically. I mean, the pro-Western person, if they do some type of election, it was going to win. There's no doubt about it because they won the last time. It was Maduro just rigged it, and it would be Machado. But there's I don't know if it was true, but Trump was like, she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize when I should have won it. You see, I don't know if that can't be true. He's like, we're not going to install Machado or allow her to lead Venezuela because she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize and he wanted it really bad. But I don't know if that one's real. Well, people said ICE is wrong. That argument comes, and this is what the argument is. Their argument is that she was turning her car away from the police, and that by the time she got shot, she was not a threat. Her vehicle was not a threat to police. But then again, it comes down to this snap second heat of the moment thing. That's probably a defense that can be used as well. You're reacting, you're not necessarily thinking, so you think you're in danger because she's not complying with an order and she has a vehicle and she's driving fast. So obviously it becomes a nuanced argument. You want the smooth transition to last a long time so we control resources of Venezuela. Yeah, but even if we did, I mean, we're going to have, when the transition happens, we're going to have a major footprint in Venezuela, even if we don't technically control it. And if you control it, it becomes an issue if there's some type of uprising in the country, or because it's destabilized. So you have to. The reason they have this transitional period with the U.S. controlling it is because you're trying to keep it stabilized. You don't want the power vacuum to be exploited by the Maduro leftovers. Yeah, it seems like Trump is doing more stuff now for sure. How long will Dems milk the ICE shooting? Assume we'll have more protests this weekend. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty muted. I think it'll be muted if I had to guess because it's cold. I mean, they're gonna have protests, and they've had protests. They've had two of the No Kings protests. At this point, they do all these protests. They're gonna have very little impact on anything. I mean, unless they mobilize some major thing, but they did that during the summer, so they can have protests. I don't think it'll do anything. I mean, it's insane how they're allowed to have the border wide open and millions of illegals come in. So what happens to Biden because allowing millions of illegals to come into the country under his policies? Nothing happens to him. Then Trump tries to deport 300K. It's like the worst crisis in history. You can't deport 300,000 people. We can let millions in every year, but we can't deport 300,000. We have the highest illegal immigrant population out of any country on earth, but we're horribly racist. The country's accepted like 40 million more immigrants than the second closest country in the last 60 years. Yeah. Like, we're just sick of it. I think the 6-7 meme is pretty much done, but I don't know. I'm not up. I'm not up on that. 6, 7 stuff. Hopefully it's done. You think the administration is better than the first one? I would hope. I mean, Trump is a lot more experienced now. You feel like momentum has shifted towards the right again ever since the Venezuelan thing? Dems played it off as poorly as possible. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I know Trump's approval rating has gone up. Whether or not that matters, I don't know. I mean, it does. It matters to where you don't want it to be too low, but I mean, I think about the approval. It's like the approval is going to go back down if they take Greenland because people don't like that. So does the approval matter? I don't know. Lots of liberals crying about Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley wouldn't hurt a fly. Like, it's hilarious how they're making Nick Shirley to be like this young, groomed neo-Nazi or something. It's just ridiculous. It's just more nonsense, overinflation, hysteria. Like, Nick Shirley went in. There's a bunch of fraud in Minnesota. It got exposed. You can't even spell learning right. I mean, it's a joke. But then they're like, well, Nick Shirley must be bad. He's white, so he's a Nazi. Oh, yeah. Play that card again. Thoughts on the ice shooting? I gave my thoughts. I think it's probably self-defense. All right, let's see some of this. So they're chanting "fuck ice." Yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't think the protests are gonna be that crazy, but we'll have to see. Nick Shirley, White Boy of the Month. Yeah, Nick Shirley gained like probably 500K followers from that video that he did. I mean, if you get that type of, I wonder what the payment is on that. If you get 200 million views on like a 40-minute video on X, I wonder what the payment is. That's got to be. I wouldn't even. I couldn't even guess the payment on something like that because I don't know how X pays. What would you charge the cop with? Can't charge him with murder. Yeah, I think it's dependent on if they can. I mean, it would be like I guess some manslaughter or something. I don't know. Bro, why do you keep spamming Jewish? People are obsessed with Israel. For 200 million views on X, nah, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than that because some lady was saying that she got like 20K. Maybe she got a billion now. It's not possible to get a billion. Well, I guess it is if people review it. They liberally give it out. They liberally give out the views. The views on X are like juice to shit where it's any interaction is. Yeah, basically a professional agitator. I mean, that's insane. It's your job to go around to protests, and then that happens at one of them. She's trying to like disrupt ICE and impede them or something. I don't know exactly what it was. Thoughts on $1.5 trillion military budget? I think it's based off of 5%, 5% of GDP from what people were saying. So that makes a bit more sense, but that's tough to swallow, man. 1.5 with our current deficit and debt. Because remember, wasn't it like 800 billion, and then the big beautiful bill pushed it up to 1 trillion. Now Trump wants it at 1.5 trillion. Cop in Westerville, one case in the same scenario. Shoplifter didn't comply. Car and gunned it. Hmm. Yeah, well, if there's a precedent for it, he'll probably be able to win on self-defense, I'm guessing. Yeah, it's a problem is it's a lawful order, and if you don't obey it and do the opposite of it, and then you put the law enforcement in danger, it's going to be hard for it not. I mean, it kind of has to be self-defense. It depends on the situation, and there is an argument that she was already passed by the time the fatal shot was fired, I guess, but I'd have to watch it again. Will Britain take over Ireland again? No. They already have Northern Ireland. The UK. Shouldn't sell F-35s to Muslim countries like the UK and Germany. They got to stop their immigration. Man, there's so much stupid shit going on. I like it is insane that they're continuing this immigration when you see these people like is it not the most obvious thing ever? You have to immediately shut down immigration and then start really vetting these people and get them out. It's like the most obvious thing ever. Those are the conditions that create some type of authoritarian situation. I mean, when it's this stupid and this obvious, like the government malpractice, I mean, it's just. And they say, well, they get worse immigrants there than we do here. So that's why it's even worse for those European countries. Do you think the reason for military spending hike is due to the going to war with China? Yeah, that's a thought. That's what I tweeted, but I mean, there has China. It's obviously an arms race. China is rapidly increasing the military budget. They've gone through a bit of an issue in terms of GDP stagnation, but they're rapidly increasing their military budget. And you would imagine there would geopolitically it would make sense for the U.S. to try and help Taiwan in that situation. But I feel like Trump will be out of power by the time that happens. You say 2027, maybe. I mean, nobody really knows. Nobody expected Russia to invade Ukraine in 2022. You really don't know when they're going to do it. Yeah, I don't think you call them Muslim countries just because the crazy amount of immigration, but they're obviously not Muslim countries. It's just an exaggeration to highlight the ridiculousness. When do you predict China invades Taiwan? I don't know. 2028, 2029, late 2020s. You saw a video on X in the UK where the entire bus was filled with cultural enrichers. Yeah, I mean some of the videos are insane, and these are the type of conditions that do create some serious instability in these countries. At a certain point, there has to be a tipping point, I would think, because it becomes so obvious that this is not a good living situation, and the government is bringing these people in, and it's making it worse. And why isn't it stopping? Benny growing out a goatee. Yeah, I saw he got facial hair. Benny Johnson. That was strange. Dude randomly gets facial hair. Interesting timing. Dan Bongino. People are done with Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino comes back. He's got like a 90% boomer audience. And he's like, I'm going to really hit it hard. You were just in the administration, and Dan Bongino, like 3 months after starting that job with the FBI, he was complaining that he didn't get to see his wife. Like, dude. And then obviously you can say he did a good job, a bad job, whatever. It's just he kind of flopped for the most part. I mean, obviously the big thing was the Epstein, but now he's gonna come back and start calling people out. It seems ridiculous after that, after the job that he did. Do you think Greenland would ever become a U.S. state, eventually be able to vote in an election? It would have to take many decades. It's not worth talking about. They'd have to have a lot of immigration to Greenland for it to get voting rights. Yeah, I believe they're a different. Yeah, they are a different time zone. So they're a time zone probably like -2 UTC, if I had to guess. Ole Miss, Miami semifinalists. Yeah, I am surprised. I thought both of them would lose. Yeah, no, I hear that the United States gets better immigrants normally than the European countries for sure. Based on Latin America versus the Middle East. That's really what it is. They're both migrating north, but it's different type of people. Marco Rubio. Yeah, I think Rubio is setting himself up right now, signaling he wants to be the VP. He's probably setting himself up for a run in a primary run against Vance, if I had to guess. I know that's not what he said, but there's a lot of people talking about Rubio. They say he does 100 jobs, and you just have to wonder. He probably is getting a little moxie here within this administration. Maybe he'll end up just wanting to be Vance's VP, but do people take Tim Walz seriously anymore? I mean, liberals like him for obvious reasons, but he's having to not step down, but he's not going to be running. This is a disgrace. I mean, he has all this fraud, and then he says, "I can't run for re-election." It's a joke. The state has just so much fraud, and he doesn't want to even admit it. So how are you gonna fix the problem if you won't admit it? And with liberals, a lot of it is like a race thing. Like, we can't admit this fraud because these are minority immigrants. Jacob Frey. Jacob Frey said like "fuck ICE" or something. I think that's so. I saw another that Kat Abagazabe, whatever her name is, the Gen Z girl that's running in Illinois. She's like "fuck ICE" or "these fucking people." When these people give their like formal addresses, like talking about they're like politicians, and they say the F word, I think it's so unserious to me. I don't know. I just think it's unserious. It's just like a child to me. Like you're giving a formal address and you're saying the F word. What to add emphasis? It just looks pathetic. Looks like you don't have a big vocabulary to me. You're having to use the F word. You're doing a formal address. You're not using the F word. What are we, 16 years old? Do you think Trump wants more Eastern immigrants like from Russia and Eastern Europe, Ukraine? These people don't speak English. I agree 100%. It'd be a lot better. But immigrants in general are an issue because of the language barrier, anyways, the cultural barrier from Europe, from the Eastern Europe. But yeah, it'd be more ideal than Latin America, but there's still issues. Do you get scared if you go to Cleveland? Well, East Cleveland's in a real bad spot, real bad. You don't want to be in East Cleveland. It depends where you're at in Cleveland, but a lot of the areas are bad. There are some good areas, though. There's some upscale areas they have now. The flats are really upscaled. Donald Trump iceberg. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could definitely do a Trump iceberg. I want to do another Hitler iceberg, and then I want to do World War II probably. I gotta motivate myself to do it. They're big undertakings. Those icebergs. So, but those are the videos that give me consistent views. Is those icebergs, and they're evergreen videos. I think they're important to do more so than just normal content. Well, the way I have the icebergs now, it's just 32 topics. So it's not overbearing. Like a lot of the people on YouTube do icebergs and they're like 2 hours long. But I'll do like a part one, part two, part three type thing. But it's just 32 topics. And you normally talk about a minute on each topic, so about 30 minutes, 32 minutes. Do you think it was an embarrassment with Shapiro Carlson fighting at Turning Point USA event? You're talking about the event from like Christmas? Yeah, that was because they spoke on the same night. Yeah, that was really weird. I thought that was yeah, that's like a unifying thing, and then they go back and yeah, I thought that was if they're gonna do something like that, that really should have been a debate, and they would have gotten a ton of views off of it too. But that was really like schoolgirl type. They're talking on the same night and calling each other out without addressing each other. I mean that, and they're speaking at the same event. Come on. What even is this? Some woman ripping down Declaration of Independence? Weird individuals.
But my guess is the same as yours. And look, left-wing violence is a problem in this country, Jesse. We've said this time and time again. My dear friend Charlie Kirk was murdered by a left-wing radical. The President of the United States was almost killed a year and a half ago. And then again, a few months after that, we have a real crisis where there are far too many left-wing people who don't want to debate, who don't want to disagree, who don't want to try to persuade their fellow citizens. They want to try to kill their fellow citizens, and that's a real problem. You feel, but my guess is the same.
That woman was trying to leave the scene. Yeah, well, therein lies the issue. She was given a lawful order to get out of the vehicle, and she sped up. So you're putting yourself in danger when you do that. That's a good lesson for life lesson. You need to comply. Especially you shouldn't speed up. You shouldn't speed up in that a situation like that. It's very you're putting yourself in danger.
Absolutely, but
is JD wearing makeup? Yeah, so is Jesse Walters. They all wear makeup on when they do these shows.
the people who are going to do that work is the Trump administration, is the President of the United States, who is solving the Democrats' affordability crisis. You don't give power back to the very people who set the house on fire. You give more power to the person who put the fire out.
If the Democrats do win the midterms, is Trump getting impeached again?
I'm sure he'll get impeached. Look, they have nothing to actually run on or govern on. Their entire obsessive focus of that party is they hate Donald Trump. So if they ever get power, are they going to lower Americans' taxes? No. Are they going to make your life more affordable? No. Are they going to solve the crime crisis? No. What they're going to do is they're going to spend all their time and all of your money trying to get Donald Trump. I think it's ridiculous. That's what they're running on. But the American people...
Yeah, I don't know if he actually wears eyeliner. I think people say it's just the eyelashes are dark, but it does look like he has eyeliner on constantly. But I don't know. Everyone's mad at Vance now, I see. People, it's just the obsession with politics, I think, because they know Vance is going to be the next candidate, so now they're attacking him. They're attacking Vance now. You think Republicans lose the midterms? Well, that's how it goes historically, but they're not going to lose the Senate. They're not going to lose the Senate. The House, I guess we'll see. The House looks like it's going to be an uphill battle, especially if Trump, depending on what happens with Trump, but also the low propensity nature of the party in general nowadays. It's very hard to. It's going to be a challenge in the House, I'll say that. I don't think it's impossible. It becomes annoying if it's a slim Dem majority, because then they're gonna have the power for a possible impeachment, even though it's not gonna matter. But that's gonna take up a bunch of time. You think they'll keep the House? Well, it's hard to say this many months out, It's just based on the historical nature of it. Also, you look at some of the polls and stuff, and they haven't been trending in the right direction, but obviously that changes in 3 or 4 months, and it's a different ballgame, and you just don't know. You will see what happens with the economy. The economy does well. Maybe these checks come out to people. I think Trump is going to go after cartel leaders for sure. If he's doing what he did in Venezuela, in Mexico, it seems like a lot, and even other Latin American countries, it seems like there's going to be operations for sure. I really wasn't on a break. I still did videos, but yeah, I really wasn't playing much many video games. Did you see Dave Smith podcast with Theo Vaughn? No, I didn't say that. World Cup Olympics being held here, just terrible. Well, it's a lot of congestion for the cities for sure. The traffic is going to be a nightmare probably for these World Cup games with all the people from all the different countries coming in. What do you think about Dave Smith? I'm not a fan of Dave Smith. I think anyone can be the noble libertarian. I don't want to take either sides. I just hate war and basically any conflict in any other country. Can anyone? That's a baby could take that position. It's more nuanced than that. But I guess that's a position. Should Drake May be president? I think Drake May should probably win the MVP. They're going to give it to Stafford though. Yeah, that's a pretty heated race for MVP of the NFL. People are it's like a 50-50 race. But Drake May did have a very easy schedule, so that plays into it, and we'll have to see. I think Stafford's going to get it because he's a veteran. Dave Smith whole America is evil thing is annoying. Well, I mean, I guess any major country is going to do things that, it's you're going to utilize your power, and sometimes that's going to affect other countries negatively. But I just think whenever you say, well, there should be no wars anywhere, it's kind of lacks nuance. What have you heard about the new Broncos Stadium? Any insight on the style the stadium will be? Retractable roof, I think, is what they're going for. I haven't seen any of the renderings for it, but I know they want a retractable roof. Thoughts on liberal states blocking the 12.5K tax rebates, no tax on tips overtime when Kamala ran on the same idea? Oh, they don't want Trump to get any positive press. Saves people money. It's an issue. Jackson Smith Njimba Glazer. He was a good receiver. I mean, he was a good receiver at Ohio State. Yeah, he's had a good career. MTG was on The View. That's her second. That's her second career. She's gonna go around saying how she just wants to help the country, and Trump's administration hasn't done what they promised, and all that type of stuff. Trade Minnesota for Alberta. The map would be fucked, bro. Our map would be fucked. You would be destroying the parallel, the perfect straight line separating Canada from the U.S. CMC is the only running back in modern era to end #1 point fantasy player because he catches a bunch of passes. No, I don't drive a Tesla. I don't have an electric vehicle. U.S. slowly becoming Canada 2.0 with millions of Indians and other third worlders flooding in. Well, the U.S. originally had much more immigration than Canada. Just recently, Canada, like 2021 and on, Canada has received an absurd amount. Canada also has a much smaller population, so they're going to feel it disproportionately more when they get an influx of immigrants. But, I mean, the U.S., it's been happening much longer than Canada. Canada, this is a new phenomenon for them. Trump wants to eliminate corporations from buying up houses like Vanguard and BlackRock. Yeah, I mean, that's a definite winning issue with the middle class for sure. We'll see what comes of that, but that's 100% a winning policy. That's like when capitalism starts getting off the rails, when you have the big conglomerates buying up all the housing and hoarding all the housing. Yeah, Alec, I would probably say I agree with you. I do think it's a gray area. I mean, if we're gonna be unbiased about it, like at the end of the day, we do have eyes. We can watch the video. But I would agree it's probably self-defense for sure. But I mean, we can be real about it. It is a bit of a gray area, but I would probably say it's self-defense. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how these cases normally go. One of the biggest changes in the YouGov poll was his support middle class went from 40% approval to 46%. I know, but that's tough, man. Polling is tough. It's tough to know if that's really accurate or not. I mean, because the way they do these polls, and when you separate it like that with those crosstabs, I mean, even crosstabs on like an election poll, it's hard to really take too seriously. You need like a composite of 5 or 6 polls, and if they're all showing the same increase, then well, this cop was definitely in danger in terms of the woman trying to. I mean, she did hit him. So honestly, you do have. They would definitely rule that he could be in danger if you're in the proximity of a vehicle, like, and you make contact with a moving vehicle. You would be deemed in danger in that position for sure. I would say, like, if you're about to be hit by a car and then the car moves out the second at the last way, you were still in danger. But these become legal arguments. I mean, it's we'll see what happens with it. Yeah, Vivek is he's having a rally in Cleveland. I saw he quit social media. It's just gone off the rails with his political career. It's really, and now he's gonna have a tough time in Ohio. It's just he's gonna have a tough time. He may win. It's be very close, but he's got name recognition now. Yeah, but you really can't react. Her car turning to leave. Her car turned at like the last millisecond. That they wouldn't really deem that. You can't process that. I mean, if you, I don't know how. Did she like really jam on the gas? I mean, if she, I guess it depends how fast she hit the pedal. But these all become like interpretations, you know. Thoughts on the J6 vigil? It's pathetic. But you know, as we get further and further away from J6, the more of a joke it becomes. It loses its potency. The propaganda of the Democrats loses luster the further away you get from it, from that event. But they have a candlelight vigil, I guess. Yeah, the thing is, you got to comply with a lawful order, especially. Well, that's like 10 times worse than even not complying. Actively trying to speed up after they tell you to get out of a vehicle. Yeah, that's a big issue because there's non-compliance and then there's doing that. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's right. Her wheels had like no traction, so that's another thing they can argue. If there was better grip, I mean, there would be a higher chance she would have been going a lot faster. So it's hard to say. Yeah, that's the thing. Her initial tires spin out because what was it, snowy or icy on that road? It's very cold in Minneapolis. That's another angle. So she was probably going to go a lot faster. So that'll be part of the intent of it. If you jam on the gas pedal after they're telling you not to, I mean, it's And then maybe he does get hit if that's the case, but I don't know. Why are people defending her so hard? She could have just not resisted being detained. Well, they defend. It's because it's a liberal versus it's a liberal cause. I mean, this is ICE. They hate ICE, so ICE does something like that, and it's a gray area. Of course, they're gonna defend her. Would you move to Greenland? You don't want to. You don't want to move to Greenland. Greenland doesn't have the infrastructure. It's. I mean, I would like to visit Greenland in the summer because I get really hot in the summer. It'd be nice to get like a colder climate, but no, you don't want to live in Greenland. One of the protesters tried to grab the agent's firearm in a different video. Yeah, these people are insane, and the thing is they're emboldened by the Democratic Party to commit these type of acts. They think it's good. Will they actually riot for a white woman? I don't think there's going to be any crazy riots or anything like that. I also think the Floyd riots were coerced by the media by amplifying it, and it was also the summer, obviously, so it was a lot warmer. Yeah, Latin and South American countries are they're very happy that Maduro was captured. It's got like a plus 40 approval rating with a lot of the Latin American countries. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but liberals are going to oppose anything that Trump does. I mean, that is a major step that he made in capturing Maduro, but it's definitely it's illuminating to see the difference in terms of the liberal reaction versus the actual people living under Maduro and the surrounding countries. Trump 2028 stand with ICE. You IDC about the woman. You don't care about the woman. Trump 2028 again with it's always Trump 2028. Commander John. But it's like all these clips, I mean, food pyramid. Shoot first, ask questions later. The bobsled team. They literally deployed their bobsled team to guard Greenland. This is just ridiculous. It's like a toddler trying to fight a grown adult. You have to feel bad. The bobsled team. You like Hope Walls? She looks older, man. She looks pretty old to me. The agent shot her 2 times point blank range on side of her left head, proving the agent was no longer in danger. Car moving 2 miles per hour on slippery snow. Yeah, I mean, but I think it's if it happens it's like a split second thing. You know, if it happens really quickly, you really can't interpret that whether or not you're in danger based off of like a millisecond or a second. That's the legal. No, I don't know the legal ruling, but protests already begun. Yeah, I mean, I've seen them. They're protesting. It's great. They're protesting again for the 100th time. Banged out a whale on Tinder. Down bad. Yeah, it's you can't destroy your standards like that, brother. You destroy your standards, you lose all confidence, you have no self-esteem. It's just you can't do it. You can't go there. Do you think the state will try and go after the officer? Yeah, that's what they're saying, so Trump can't pardon him. He's going to get state charges, is what they say, so Trump is unable to pardon him. A whale like she had money? No, when you refer to a woman as a whale, it's not because they got money. Certainly not because they got money. A guy, it's because he's got money. The whale. It's a different. She was shot through the front windshield, not the left side of her head. Yeah, I think you're right based on the bullet indentation onto the window. I think you're right. I mean, I'd have to look at the video again. Dude, that's tough. But I get it. It's tough. I get it. But I wouldn't do that. Trying to find this clip. It's what is this? Dan Bongino coming back. I mean, where is this video?
And it's clear, look, I don't know, I don't think any governor in history has had to fight a war against the federal government every single day.
Well, I said this yesterday. We've never been at war with our federal government.
And it's clear.
Need survivor pick. Green Bay, Rams, Buffalo, San Francisco, or Pitt. Well, I mean, this isn't Survivor. So the Survivor in the playoffs? Green Bay. I think you got to pick a home team. Isn't San Francisco's at Philadelphia? I think that's a challenge. That's not going to go well. I'd say the Rams. I think the Rams are going to win. The Rams are facing the Panthers. The Rams are going to beat the Panthers. But the Survivor, it involves strategy. Steelers all the way. The Steelers are not that good. I mean, they might win, but they might win a game. Do you think this will be a 2020 situation or it will pass? I don't think it'll be 2020. Nah, 2020 was a race. It was a race bait scenario. And it was magnified, I feel like. That would be magnified more than this one. I mean, it's hard to top 2020. It had the most property damage out of any riot in U.S. history. So I don't think it can top 2020. And if it did, I feel like that would just give Trump justification to fully use the Insurrection Act and deploy the National Guard to all the major cities. Female was white and the Asian was right. It was a race, not a race thing. In slow motion video, you can see the tire peel or skid while it was aimed right at the officer, indicating she hit the gas hard, but the icy ground stopped the car from lunging forward. Yeah, but then she did turn it. So the intent would be, well, she was trying to get away. But I mean, it's a gray area. It's going to be debated, I'm sure.
Well, I said this yesterday. We've never been at war with our federal government. I think in this case that the National Guard is their main mission. They have a dual mission. Well, I said this. Local law enforcement, we get no coordination. They don't tell us they're coming. They don't say why they're sending the largest deployment in American history to Minneapolis. They're not making us any safer. We don't have any of that coordination. They should be talking to us when we do these things. Let us know we're going to be down here. This is going to happen. We don't have that. So when you see local law enforcement, we get no coordination. Minnesotans, don't take the bait. Do not take the bait. Do not allow them to deploy federal troops into here. Do not allow them to invoke the Insurrection Act. Do not allow them to declare martial law. Do not allow them to lie about the security and the decency of this state. And let's let this investigation play itself out. Let's make sure we protect our neighbors. I encourage you to use your First Amendment rights and all of your constitutional rights, but do so in a peaceful manner. We'll gather back with you as soon as we gather more information that needs to be put out. But again, stay safe. Minnesotans, don't. I don't know. I hope. Maybe we're at their McCarthy moment. Do you have no decency? Do you have no decency? We have someone dead in their car for no reason whatsoever. And I don't want to be right about this, but I said if they do this, they're going to create a chaotic situation where someone innocent's going to get killed. And they did it. And now we hear.
But like, I don't understand. Create a chaotic situation. They're trying to deport the illegal immigrants. The chaotic situation is caused by the protesters who shouldn't be there. There's no business there for them. Like, I don't understand. What's the chaotic situation? Them trying to deport people?
More political rhetoric. Enough. Enough is enough. And so to Minnesotans, don't take the bait. Do not.
Did you see what Waltz said in his statement when he said he wasn't going to run for re-election? He said Republicans are coming to, his state to film children or something at daycares. Like, bro, come on. Are you kidding me? You're seriously going toward it like that? There's no accountability either. But I mean, they know there's fraud there. Even CNN knew there was fraud when they asked Jake Tapper asked Ilhan Omar about it 2 months ago. The daycare mess is it's obvious. Look at the signs. Just look at the way the signs are done. Oh, same thing happened in Washington State. Somali daycare fraud. Yeah, well, people say it's the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of other stuff. It's unmanageable with these people. You know, it's horrible for liberals because these are immigrants coming in and they're doing this. So they're defrauding U.S. taxpayers. It's a problem. Your overall thoughts on Greenland, brief for those joining late. Well, Rubio's having a meeting. They're going to try and acquire it in a diplomatic way. There's going to have to be some political nudging that's done to Denmark and Greenland because they're really adamant. But I mean, it's a weird situation because Greenland really doesn't want to be controlled by Denmark, but they still are. And I think there would be a formal offer. Money becomes a big player in it, and it gets done in a peaceful way, in a diplomatic way. That would be good for both sides, and I think Denmark would get a great deal out of it. And Rubio said he plans. I mean, I would imagine when he talks to Denmark and Greenland, it's going to be he's going to try and negotiate something. Whether or not they'll be receptive to it, I don't know. But he said today that Trump wants to buy it, and he's meeting with them. So you vlogging at your home? What do you mean? Did you see McAfee isn't doing those field goal kicking contests because it costs him too much money unless they get a sponsor? That seems insane. Those are very popular. Feels like it'd be pretty easy for them to get a sponsor. Minneapolis canceled school tomorrow for safety concerns because of the riots. Really? Better to be safe than sorry, I guess. America doesn't need Greenland. It's great in American Zionism talking. Yeah, well, America doesn't need a lot of things. They do it anyways. America didn't need Maduro, but it's really not an argument whether they need it or want it. I mean, does Greenland have any rare earth minerals or oil? Heavy in rare earth minerals, yes. Rubio Greenland tomorrow. I thought it was next week. He said next week. America kind of does need Greenland regardless. No, I mean, America could do whatever they wanted on Greenland. They would allow us. We already have a military base there. Trump wants it. It's a symbolic thing. He wants added territory to the U.S. Manifest Destiny 2.0. America does what we want. I mean, yeah. I mean, you see what happened with Maduro. It's to a degree, it's true because the power of the country is just insane from a militaristic standpoint. the adversaries want it. Yeah, I think that's there's no way China. There's the feasibility of China encroaching on Greenland and like. I mean, I guess it is true that China was trying to do a mineral deal with Greenland, and Greenland was receptive. That is true, and that's something that Trump can use in his arguments on why we need it. But I mean, I don't know. Thoughts on immigration in the UK? Well, they got to stop all immigration in the UK. It's very critical. They need to stop all immigration, start the remig. They seem receptive to remigration in the UK. We'll see. America didn't need Alaska. Yeah, and they said it was a bad purchase too. You know, so that's the thing. Is these territory expansions, they're normally very good for the country. They're lucrative. They're going to pay off, so Bears versus Green Bay. Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a really close game. I don't know. Is Jordan Love playing? Green Bay isn't fully healthy. Yeah, I think if Jordan Love doesn't play, probably it'd be a close game either way. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for the stream. I'm gonna end it there. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. You think Mexico would be a better choice? We'd lose a lot less annexing it than we'd lose it a single. No, you don't want to annex Mexico. The population is way too large. They're going to demand voting rights. That big of a population is hard to manage, and the I mean, the type of entitlements they would want would be insane if they became part of the U.S. All right, guys. Is annexation of Alberta possible? Alberta would rather be their own country with a very close agreement with the United States. We would have an agreement in terms of resources with Alberta in a much more significant way than we currently do if Alberta became independent. I don't think they want to join the United States. They don't have to because of where they're located. They're really insulated. Nobody's really going to attack Alberta, I don't think. They would have like a safety problem. They would have to do a deal with us where it would be like a resource deal and we'd give them protection if they became independent, Alberta. All right, guys, I'll see ya.